So he was a child in a prison actually, and he grew up in prison as well as during the war. What he used to do was that he used to actually play chess, and when he used to play chess, that's when he actually found that he was so immersed in chess that he never realized that actually he was in a prison and where he was. So that's when actually when he grew up, that's actually when he thought about this concept of flow, and he's the originator of this concept called flow. As I said, it is when you are in that work which you really like, you forget about the time of how much time is there, or you're just so immersed in that work that you forget your lunch and all of that. So that is the state of flow. That is when the productivity is actually higher there. And it is typically what happens when you're challenged for a task. You said, okay, can go and do this work. It is a bit challenging. It is in your area, and you spend all of that time and things. So just a very brief. Before I start, I wanted to give you a quick introduction into the flow. I realized it much later, actually, of what a flow is. I was doing that work, but I never realized that actually this is called flow. There. So my journey, as I said, was a dev. Then I was asked to actually take on a role for a tech lead with like 5 or 6 people. I was not the most smartest person in that team either, or not the even senior person either. But they asked me to actually lead that team. And during actually that team, there was a lot of things that I learned as an individual. That instead of what I was doing as one person, where somebody was giving me a task and I was actually doing that, I then now actually have to see what other people are delivering as well. What is actually happening? What are they doing? And giving them that path or the technical direction of what actually needs to actually happen there. And when a work is coming in, we were working in sprints when we were having these sprint meetings and things, based on, and working with the project manager as well there. Sometimes the project manager was so split so thinly that it was not possible for them to actually oversee everybody. So in that case, actually, I was responsible for assigning those tasks. And something that we did was actually, we used to do something called ways of working session whenever we were setting up new teams, to actually understand how the people work in the team, what is actually happening, what are their passion, what they want to do. And assigning actually tasks based on that was very helpful. They were actually able to produce or do work much quicker. But all of this has taken, for me, years to actually figure out. It was not easy. It was not something that somebody told me, oh, I'm telling you, and you can do it the next day. It takes a lot of time and understanding about the people as well as how they want to be communicated, what kind of information that they really seek from you, and what kind of direction actually you could give there. Having that clear comms and making sure that actually everybody understands what you are trying to do from a technical direction, because that's what I was doing, looking into the technical direction of the project that we were working, and making sure that it is actually even the feedback, whether you're doing a peer review of a task or you're checking you're having discussions, it's always good to actually listen in. Because it does not mean that you're a tech lead, does not mean that you know everything. There are people in your team that actually could be much smarter. You need to make sure that you are actually leveraging all of that knowledge that you have within the team there. So, and I don't know if you have had any other experience. It would be good if somebody in the group actually had some other experiences of moving from a dev to maybe a tech lead. Anyone? Yep.
Sort of experiences like that. That was in my first job itself. I was working as a developer of IT and and there is a less smarter or less experienced person in the team, and then you still have to get the task done. And that's where all these factors comes into the picture, where you start learning as well as understanding and getting the people's perception, getting them organized for the objective rather than egos coming into the picture. So.
No, that's a really good point actually there. And some of this actually I went on, I'm sure you guys have gone on some courses as well, but I went on to a course for Dale Carnegie, which was around the communication, which was, I think it was around 10 years ago, actually I went on to that course. But that course actually, or the things that they discuss in that for a 2-day workshop, are so relevant. And I came out with there's a golden book from Dale Carnegie. I don't know if you have seen it. It's a small pocket book actually. You could keep it. It gives you tips and tricks on how to communicate, what you need to do, and it has had an immense actually effect on my journey in that. And so having that communication, it is the key. It is key for us to actually converse, making sure things are clear. If you are getting a direction of the technical architect, making sure that you are actually splitting that task in a way that it's easier for your people within your team actually to understand what is it that you need to do, making it clear there. And that was, I was maybe a tech lead for a few years, 3 or so years I think, and then I moved on to being a manager. And being a manager, actually, I've in the managerial role, I've had various sizes of teams, from managing a team of, at the start, actually maybe 6, 7, and recently I was the delivery lead for a very big project, managing around 290 people, who were in my team. So I've had varied experience actually of managing those, and it is very different of how you manage one team to actually managing 20 teams. The level of information that you need to give or cascade is very important of what you want them to achieve. Sometimes actually being a manager or a leader, actually you sometimes need to lead by an example. You need to show them of how actually you want them to actually behave, or what a kind of work. Sometimes you need to put the boundaries and the deadlines as well. You may have to stay back actually to get the work done. These are all examples that sometimes you have to set up for other team members to follow, and making sure that the work is actually being delivered. And as part of that flow, actually, there's a person actually called Keith Swear. And Keith Swear, I don't know, you've heard about that, but Keith Swear actually came up with the team flow, which is called team flow. Flow was for individual, team flow is actually for the whole team, where what you're doing is that you are giving them work actually, or it's a state in where actually the team is most productive. So you're giving them that challenge that you know that this particular team is really good with, let's say, front-end work. And so you give them that piece of work. These days, the teams are cross-functional, but that was just an example there. And making sure that when you are at a senior position, actually, any strategic things that you want to actually convey, they are very, very clear of what is that strategies, and how you want the teams to behave, and what is it that you want from them. Sometimes actually it is so vague that they don't know what does this strategy mean. How could they contribute? The team could actually contribute to that strategy, or what the company or the client is actually asking for. And sometimes it's like, I'm sure you've heard this, that a salesperson goes into a meeting with a client and they say, well, this is a piece of work, this is a big piece of work, which may take 6 months, but we won't deliver it in 2 months. And they would come back and say, yeah, we can do it, don't worry, we will do it. And that is the most difficult thing sometimes actually happen, where people or the team themselves actually don't know, why did this person actually said yes. You need to think about the other person as well. Take their viewpoint as well. Don't just commit to things thinking that you could do it so that others could do it as well. Everybody actually has got their different different knowledge and different limits as well. So you need to think about others as well while actually taking any decisions there as well. So yeah, I think again, I'm sure quite a few here are from the agile background, managers as well. So any experiences anybody wants to share on that? Anyone?
More specifically around being a manager? Or?
Yeah, being a manager, how you have managed your teams, and what is it that you may have done it differently?
Certain style. Have you heard of servant leader style?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite like that style.
Yeah.
And the team is not a hierarchy as such, it's flat.
Yep.
And you're all just promoting different roles. That's why I always cool with that.
Yeah, exactly, and I think I love that style as well. Actually, that's actually my organization works in that kind of structure where it's a very flat hierarchy. Being a manager does not mean that you own them. I think you own the people. It is.
Well, if anything, you're working for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think that is a really good point actually there. That it's all about that servant leadership, making sure that you are actually empowering the others to actually deliver for you. I think that's. Thank you for raising. I think that was really good there. But sometimes actually I can tell you an incident where I went to Abu Dhabi. Actually, we had a client in Abu Dhabi, and in Abu Dhabi actually we were working long hours like 14-15 hours, because ours was a small company. They had flown you from here to Abu Dhabi. They expect you to work longer hours. So, but some of my team members who came along with me, they were like, well, it's 5 o'clock. Let's go home. I said, no, you have to sit here and still work another 5 hours to get the work done. And you have to sit I didn't know what they are doing. They were writing code there, but I was not doing anything. I could have left at 5. I stayed back with them actually till 10, so that they know that I am also actually in with them. It's not that. So sometimes you have to go and actually set those examples with other people as well, with your team, so that they can really understand where you are coming from, why are you asking them, and you are also actually spending that time with them. So having that collaboration, understanding of your teams is very key. Again, communication for me has been so important, and here I've got my colleague as well, Mark actually just joined us, and he can tell you as well that communication is where everybody actually falls. All the projects, wherever you see, you do a retrospective, you do things, and they will tell you, oh, we didn't knew that this was coming, or this was just thrown to us without even being given any context about it. So again, being very clear of what you want the teams to achieve actually would be really good. And moving on to some of the key challenges is around the balancing that accountability and actually empowering the teams as well. Sometimes you want them to deliver a piece of work in 2 sprints time, but the team members or the tech leads, they may have a different idea of actually how you could actually implement that solution, which may take longer. And sometimes it's like, no, this is an MVP, we have to get this out. And sometimes you have to take that stance of saying, this is what I want you to do, and this is why I want you to do it. And they should understand. They should really understand actually. But sometimes it's about that act of balancing where you may have to, if they can come back and say, what about the tech debt? Can we address some of the tech debt actually here? And sometimes you say, okay, fine, take some of the tech debt actually and do it. So you have to really balance of what actually you want. You cannot actually give. You cannot ask from your teams all the time. Sometimes you have to give back as well. And it's few things that also actually around the social part as well. Actually, sometimes it is difficult to actually build those relationships with people in teams. It's always good to actually have throw in a social, bring in everybody out of the workplace, take them for a drink or two, get them food to eat, and the conversations will flow. You are there as a listener. You're not there actually there to actually speak. You're there to listen from the other people actually what they have to say. And in these other environments, actually, you will get to know from them some of the excellent other things that they do outside of work, which could be really really good, and could be a really good conversation starters. Actually, next time you want to get some work done from them. And also as a manager, for us to actually support that flow, we need to make sure that there are like any blockers that may have got. We have had few projects where the requirements were unclear. Need to make sure that the requirements are actually clear, or they know what needs to actually happen. You can set up the meetings with the product owners or the clients, actually making sure that the team actually is aware of what needs to be delivered, and help them as much as you can. As you said, empower them and make sure that they actually have got everything that you want them to actually deliver as well. Again, this is also another key aspect actually that is there, which is around the delegation part. You cannot actually do all the work. I think, believe me or not, but you cannot do everything. You have to have some people who actually you can delegate tasks, and other people, like I was given the responsibility. It wasn't that I joined the industry and I was a manager. My managers or my senior people, actually they give me that opportunity or delegated their task that they thought actually I could do it very easily, and they could actually focus on more of the strategic aspect of the business. And that's how you actually help others to grow as well. And when they see actually that you are putting in the time and effort in their professional development, actually they will be there keen, standing behind you to support you. They will always be there saying, yeah, Jitin always actually helps us. He has taken us through different roles that he can help us grow actually in this role. I'm going to be there with him if he needs me. And that is very, very important. Delegation as a manager actually is really, really good. But sometimes actually also need to be very careful of what you're delegating. Some things actually you need to keep it to yourself as well, not delegate everything to the other person or number of people there. And also, like one of the key challenges was let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. Sometimes when you are presenting, it could be a bigger group. It is always good to actually call out the person who may have fed you that idea, but sometimes it is not possible. And that could be sometimes the team or that person individual may feel that I was not given the due credit. So need to be very careful of around those things as well actually. And I burnt my hands on that as well. That does happen sometimes. But actually, so that's what I said around. We've already covered actually a few of these things. So building trust through open communication. Again, feedback. I think you need to be very honest actually with the feedback. We have got, whether it's a half-yearly review or an yearly review, always go back with some constructive feedback on actually what you think that they could actually improve on, how you could actually help them with their professional journey, and ask others as well actually to give you that feedback of how you can actually also grow as well. Again, give them, so empowering those through delegation forces team engagement as well. So there could be teams that could be working on your NFRs. You can just delegate those part to a group of people there to say you're going to manage the NFRs on this project. They could be challenged. They could actually come into that state of flow as well there. So those are some of the key lessons actually that I learned. I don't know if anybody wants to share any of your lessons that you may have learned during your transition.
I think I learned, so I worked for Jitsi before this thing happened. was made team lead when someone went out of Fujitsu. And the challenge which I faced and how I tackled this, first of all, as a developer, we are good at developing things, we are good at coding, but sometimes what we feel we get lazy when it comes to documentation. So I made sure that all the documents are there because we were dealing with a legacy system and then we were transiting to a newer system. I made sure that documentation is there which helped everyone to get hold of the project. And that also helped if anyone was going out or coming into the project. That was key thing that helped me managing the team. Second was open communication. As you mentioned, that's how he managed so many team members. And by open communication, I mean I had a delivery manager and I had a client I was responsible for. So I spoke to my delivery manager and I spoke to my client as well that I would like to have my team members in the meeting which they think are relevant. If I'm being called on a meeting, I think that my team members need to be there, not necessarily that they would add or they would interrupt them, but it would be a learning for them. Let's suppose if tomorrow, if they would never get to know that what's being discussed as a delivery manager, then they would never be able to thought that what this job role is all about. Let it be training, let it be a newer fresher who has joined the industry. So I made sure that open communication is there and then they can learn about other things as well and then they can progress whatever role they want to be in. So that helped to manage the team and they felt empowered during this whole my journey as a tech lead. So, thank you.
No, thanks. No, yeah, I think believing in them actually of what the team is actually doing, or that individual person actually is doing as well. Giving them a shout out, making sure that people are aware if they have helped you. Actually, giving them a shout out actually does really help as well. I think so. These are some nuggets of advice that I actually had as well. But what I have done is that I have actually created a quiz actually for you all. So I'm just going to cover first quickly discovering your leadership style. So there are many more. There are many more styles as well, but there are 5 styles actually that I have. So autocratic is more about you just making a decision and just throwing it over the team that you need to do it this way. This is how you have to do. Democratic would be you asking for collaboration, you're asking for feedback from the team members there as well. And then the transformational is around giving them that, or inspiring them and motivating them to actually to your vision of growth. This is your vision and how we all can actually work towards it and what actually we could do. That would be transformational there as well. And we already talked about the servant leadership there as well, that empowering and supporting the team. So you are working for the team, not the other way. And then laissez faire is around your hands-off approach. You just give them the freedom of what they want to do. You just give them the work of this needs doing, and it's up to them now then to actually go and do that. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is now you have to just, if you've got a phone or something, or if you want to just type it in, I think would be good if just to make a note of how many. So what you have to do is that just closely matches how would you act in that situation. Yeah. So when your team encounters a problem, do you make a quick decision to solve it and direct the team, or ask the team for suggestions and work together on the solution, or encourage the team to view the problem as an opportunity for growth, or support the team and offer help if needed, but let them work it out, or step back and allow the team to handle it on their own. So let me just go through all of these. If you've got a phone or something, if you want to just maybe type in your answer, A, B, C, D, E, or yeah. So if everybody's done it, I can go to the next one. Yeah. Can we move on to the next? Okay. So when setting goals for your team, do you set clear and specific goals for team to follow? or collaborate with team to create goals everyone agrees on, or set ambitious goals that inspire and push the team to grow, or focus on goals that support the team's well-being and development, or allow the team members to set their own goals independently.
Can select more than one option?
If you want to, yeah, if you think that's what, if you think that's what you would do. There are places where you can actually, the leadership styles actually mixes up as well. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then the next one is during a team conflict. Step in to resolve it directly to avoid disruption. Facilitate a discussion to help the team reach a resolution, or encourage team members to reflect on the bigger picture, or listen to each side's concerns and offer support to find common, or let the team members work through it unless it escalates. And I can tell you actually that I have changed my style of leadership actually. It used to fluctuate actually between the autocratic sometimes, because the kind of organization that I was working on was very, very different, or between the autocratic or the laissez-faire, where I will just leave them, do whatever you want to do, just get me the work done. So, but it has changed now. It has very, very much changed in the last few years. So. Okay, next one is how do you handle delegation? So assign tasks, clear instructions of how they should be completed, or delegate tasks but allow the team to decide on the approach, or assign tasks in a way that challenges and motivates team members, or focus on delegating tasks that helps team members grow and learn, or delegate tasks to complete freedom of how they want to accomplish. So. Yeah. Next one. Right. So, what's your top priority as a leader? Actually, maintaining control and keeping everyone on track, or ensuring collaboration, team alignment, inspiring growth and fostering innovation, supporting the team's well-being and empowerment, or providing freedom and independence for the team? Yep. Okay. So this was the last one actually. So, but this is the scoring guide. So you don't have to tell me, but that's your scoring style actually.
Well, those really depend on the project, on the team, and on the circumstances as well. It fluctuate very much.
Yes, it does fluctuate.
Yeah.
It does fluctuate, but at least now you would know what kind of style that you're working in. And as I said at the start of the session, actually running a ways of working session will actually give you insight into your team of how each individual work, whether they will actually take this kind of style, let's say autocratic, will they even take that style from you or not? Or will it just go straight to escalation? That this person actually asked me to do this and I'm not ready to do it. I want my own freedom to think about it, how it should be done, rather than just being told. So, yes, I agree. It depends. And so on.
It's based on, I bring in the needs can be where how an individual would like to be treated or
Yeah.
and that's how you start. But given a situation by default, if you are brought into given a fresh team which people don't know, I mean normally it would be a democratic or transformational style which you would start with and understand the people, the individual team members, and then you go on. And then if they are very skilled, as you said, very skilled and independent or experienced professional, you would probably feel better with the last where you are more independent to focus on the practice. And if it is new, people need more attention. Probably is the democratic and transformation where you not only helping them but encouraging them for their growth. So that's how you.
No, that's a really, really good point. But I think there are a few things that maybe you should look at actually. What do you see We could do this as an activity as well. Maybe pair up and you can discuss on what was your scoring or what was your leadership style and what kind of strengths of your leadership styles are. What challenges, we discussed some of those actually just now. Challenges that might come in your style and how you can address them. But there are times when actually, for example, that autocratic will definitely work. If there is a crisis in the company, that's the style you want to go for. That this is what I wanted to do, and this is how you're going to do it, and now go and do it. So it just depends on that context of what you're trying to actually achieve. And if you could strengthen another leadership style to complement your primary one, which one would you actually choose and why? So maybe these are some food for thoughts actually. You can go and think about it later. Yeah. Okay. So what's my advice? So I think we need to actually. So as I said, that I was not aware of this concept of flow. It was only a few years ago I realized that there's something called flow, and I think supporting that flow actually within your teams and giving them gives you actually that clear goals and what they could actually achieve. So having that thinking behind whatever your decisions that you're making, actually think about that flow. Challenge and inspire with meaningful goals of what you want them to do. So if there's a strategy, break it down of something achievable of what you want the teams to actually achieve, whether it's a 3-month goal or 1-month goal or a 6-month goal. Break them down, make it very clear, because not everybody within the teams or within the business can actually understand the strategy of how they could actually contribute to the strategy. So, and then with your team, actually give them a challenge to work on. Really challenge them if it is about if it could be a new technology you want them to work on. It could be the time as well that you want them. We have recently delivered a project where the teams are working 12-15 hours a day for months, because that was a challenge, that you have to deliver this is the time, and you have to go and actually do it. And they did it really very well. So you won't, sometimes it's like, whether my team is going to do it or not, you won't believe it or not, they will actually take on the challenge and actually do it as well. So, encourage the growth and make sure that you take your team with you. Just don't leave behind them. So start delegating more tasks that you think the other person actually could do, and bring them in the journey actually with you. So and then just the last thing is conclusion wise. So I think for me the communication style of making it very, very clear is really key. The flow as well, I think. I've got some links as well if you want to. These are the two. This one is the flow and this one is the group flow, and the group genius by Keith. So I can share the link as well there. So that was me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you mentioned at the start, Dale Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
His main book is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Which people seem to champion that book, and in my humble opinion, it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That book's premise is overpromise, over-deliver, which leads to burnout, demotivation, and the way I'm going to say this, I'm not trying to be a dick, right? You made mention there several times to having your team members work 15 hours a day.
Mm.
Now, I do that myself in my own business a lot of the time, but I would never expect it of anybody else. That, to me, smells of extremely poor project management, that you're having to basically have, say, a team of 10 developers, essentially do the work of 20 developers or 20 team members. I want to get an understanding how that, from your perspective, is a positive in a management point of view. Because I know that if a manager came to me and my team and said that, my team would down tools at 5 o'clock and would go home. We
Yep.
wouldn't be sitting there for 15 hours.
Exactly. No, I think that has happened. It's not that that does not happen. That does really happen. But that's what I say. I think you need to really give them that context. You need to bring them into a room and explain where are you, what is actually happening with the client, what is actually happening with the business, what is it why is it that needs delivering. It's nothing to do with the project management or stuff. It's not about that. There could be a product that needs to really go to the market in the next 2 months, because if it's delayed by another week or 2 weeks, the competitor is going to come out with another product which actually could gain the market. So it really depends on what is it that you are trying to deliver with that project. Some things actually, so the first example that I gave about the UAE, that was just the cost. That was just pure cost that we wanted to cut down the number of days. If we were a very, very small company, we could not afford people living in UAE for months. So we had to really cut down on that by spending more time actually working, and they were quite happy actually to do it as such as well. So it depends. It could be sometimes, yes, I agree. Sometimes sales people go in and actually overcome it on what actually could be done in that time. That is very, very true of what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing to that. Yeah.
As long as it's not a culture that it's I remember when talking about my first job at 6 p.m. in the evening, young in my age, looking with my friends to go out and have some time out, and then my manager looking up, where are you going? It's time. I'm sitting here. You're not supposed to go till I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
Just do something, learn something. So as long as that culture is there, then that's toxic. But then if it is a need of the hour and it's an opportunity actually, especially for the young learners, that this is you take on the pressure and the challenge and deliver things in a quicker amount of time. But then it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. That becomes toxic.
That's toxic from day one. I think you've been victim of drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'm afraid to disagree with you there 100%. No matter what you're doing, I think you're saying it's not a bad management decision. 100% it is. If the client says it has to be out in 2 months' time, you need to realign their expectations.
Yeah.
That either you need to spend more money, you need more people. Having people work those sort of hours is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I think I think there's probably laws against it. The UK have actually haven't done
Yeah.
those. That's all I think.
Yeah, no, and it's not that it's happening all the time. It's not that it is happening all the time. That's not the case. That's not the case. What?
I think if a team's engaged, there are times when they'll do what is needed to get a product out the door. They'll do that because it's their product and they're engaged in it. But I don't think something is going to suffer if you're expecting long hours continually on a project,
Yeah.
which is around creativity and thought. You just can't do it for a start. It's not going to happen. Quality's going to be bad. Product's going to be bad.
And I come out of this from a point of view that I've been there and done that, and I've burnt myself out more times than I'd like to admit. So I don't feel I'm sort of like picking a fight and trying to.
No, I have burned myself as well, but it's not that. But the thing was that actually I was not given the context of why I need to work for 12 hours. I was just said,
Exactly.
work 12 hours. You have to.
I mean, like sometimes you do have to work that long hours. Let's suppose you were building something and one of your team members have done something really wrong at the end time. That design didn't work, or there was a design flow that client didn't agree to, or there was any testing issues. So you're not actually over burning that midnight oil. I think it is more about covering your team, taking that responsibility, working extra hour, not as he mentioned, not as a culture, but sometimes you have to stand for your team or your team member or your friend in the team. So I think sometimes we do have to, as I mentioned, sometimes we do have to stay there for a particular time, but not as a part of culture where this is expected as usual.
Just before we get started, I think we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole at the same time because I think the point being is actually about the leadership and the management aspect. And if you are inclusive, you do that servant leadership, you bring people along on the journey with you, people will do things for you. Now that might be the extra couple of hours
Yeah.
or hours here, then it might be putting that extra time in, being focused, whatever it is, they will go along with you. But if you're open and share it,
Yeah.
if you're just dictating, do
Then
this
it's
thing, then that's hard. So I think we're getting hung up on the time thing. I think it's about getting that kind of collaboration across the team to all come together towards the same thing.
So, Chetan, my question to you on this, like we're not going into certainty. So, as a manager, let's suppose your team delivered what you expected and they did spend whatever X number of hours. So, how would you reward them as it like? And if they ask, like, if there are 5 team members and everyone says that I did exceptional work, and now they're during their yearly review, now they're asking for that they over delivered and everyone is asking for pay hike. So how would you manage that?
It will be actually so interesting to get feedback from each other as well. So that's what we do. Actually, we have got peer feedback as well from the colleagues, from the senior as well. Even in the so for me as well, a developer will also give a feedback on me as well. For example, so having that actually 360 feedback really helps to determine actually what is the true state of it. But also actually, as I said, that we take people out for, you could take people out for socials as well, drinks, and because not every time you could actually reward them. Actually, sometimes giving them more money, actually it is much better to actually recognize them in their front of their peers to say, these 5 individuals have done an excellent job, delivered this piece of work, and what actually they did in front of the other group. Actually, that has worked as well. If there is a town hall, you can give them a kind of a award, 50 pound Amazon voucher, that could actually work as well. So you don't need to actually go on the top as well. So
Another question, as a I want to move into managerial sometime in future. So tell us about your mistakes that if you would have to rework on this path, which you would avoid, and which you might have made without knowing that. Okay, this is
yeah. So that's what I said, right? So for example, on this one, actually, so which one? So for example, this one. So during conflict, I would actually step in and try to resolve the issue. What is happening? Let's just come in. Let's resolve it. And because sometimes you learn from your managers as well of what actually they are doing, right? So, and it's not always that they are correct or they are right. But then I have realized later on that this was not the right style. This being an autocrat, it doesn't work with the people. It really does not. You need to actually understand the people aspect and what they are doing and why they are doing, and actually empowering them to the best of their abilities actually to work. So that was the key.
Is it now D or which one is it now?
So yeah, it is more, for me it is more of the servant leadership, actually listening and empowering them actually more. So, but that's what you have to do. You have to really switch your leadership styles. You should be aware of all of them, but switch. And sometimes actually giving them that autonomy. So for example, you asked that question about how you're going to reward them. In my previous job, actually, what we used to do is that we used to give them, like they could work on their own projects at the company's time. They could actually spend that time working on their pet project, which could be, it could be around the product that we are building, that they wanted to do, try something, innovate something that they could actually do it. So that's the kind of thing that we would actually do. So keeping those things in mind, that this is what you could do actually will be as well. And the other thing was around the comms. So the things that I have learned in my journey, which now I have actually very much improved on, is the communication. Sometimes it was not clear of what I'm asking about for my team to do. Now I'm being like, I give full context of why I'm asking it, what needs to happen, why does it need to happen actually, and that has really changed the team dynamics. Yeah.
I think on that slide there's a trap that I know I've fallen into with B and D. And you go in there with good intentions and say, oh, yeah, come on, let's talk it through. And then about 15 minutes in, you snap into A and it's like, right, okay, so that's good, so we're going to do this, and this.
Yeah.
And then
Well, since we're talking about feedback, what do you think, apart from the organization structure of the feedback based society, for you, and in fact for everyone here who are in this similar role, how would you prefer? You would stick to the organization cycle of giving feedback, or you would do more
Yeah,
feedback
so
sequence?
so as I will take you back again to the ways of working actually. Quite happy to run a session on ways of working as well. In the ways of working actually that we do actually there's a question of how do you want to get your feedback. Some people say, yeah, I'm happy to actually have a chat of whenever you want to give a feedback, just grab me and we can discuss the feedback. Some people say, no, wait for my monthly review of what the 3 monthly or the 6 monthly review and give me the feedback at that time. So it completely depends on the person. So you really need to know who to whom you're giving that feedback and how will they actually receive it. So for me, it is I'm quite open. I'm quite happy to take the feedback there and then. It's that because that's what how I feel that for me to actually improve, I cannot wait for that 6 month. If there's something that I need to work on, I'll work on straight away.
Sorry, the point I wanted to bring in, obviously it's the way you want to.
Yeah.
For my view, it is feedback as it is happening is actually beneficial for the team member, because you don't end up something which they are not doing wrong or correctly, and as a manager or the leader or mentor sometimes you feel that they need a correction, otherwise it could be too late by then in the third cycle where they are actually falling out of. And then it's also a good opportunity to talk to them and ask them actually, or get a feel of them, that how they want me to lead them or mentor them in terms of
these things you could actually pick in like retrospective as well actually. In the team retrospectives as well you could pick it up if that's kind of feedback you're talking about. I think you had a
I was coming back to the working times. And I was thinking, how much does the average age of the team play into that? Because I think as developers, I've found myself as I've gotten older, I value my time more than progression and money. So is that something that you find is that people are more willing to put the hours in to gain recognition when they're much younger, and so if you've got a relatively young team, they're more likely to do that because there is benefit and that they value recognition, progression, and that kind of thing.
There is somewhat around that, but actually it does not really matter. The people who want to work, irrespective of their age, actually tend to put in the time. Again, you need to be understanding of if that work needs to happen by today and they need to work 14 hours. They may have kids as well. They may have to go and get their kids from the school, feed them, take them to bed, and then maybe after that they will spend another 2 hours after that. So you need to have that understanding of your team member of how will they work around your ask.
I think what we're talking about, and Jim has gone through a lot of examples of ways of demonstrating leadership, and in the conversation we're having here now as well, a lot of it is very contextual. But actually that's one of the skills of leadership, isn't it? You've got your tool bag of stuff, and you know which tools to bring out at the right time, in the right context with the right people. So you've got that flexibility to adjust to the situation and scenario. So for me, in some ways, everything is valid. There's a time to be autocratic. Not very often, in my opinion, but there is a time. And then there is time to be collaborative, which is more often. But if you've got that ability to flex, maybe that's what leadership is.
Yeah.
So also, you mentioned that in early stage while you were working as a developer, you had many things to handle, from team lead to many, and doing many things. So could you tell us more about what is your experience in terms of managing smaller teams, and then all of a sudden you are managing 290 people in an organization? So what challenges did you face, and how did you actually work around those challenges?
It's a very different setup. So with the smaller team, actually you know each and every individual. You know their names, what they do, what their roles are, you know everything. When you're managing a bigger team, it's it's not possible to actually know everybody by their names or even what they really do on your project. It is very difficult actually to know. I think having that, the comms that you're doing or the town halls that you're running actually does play an important part on your project. So this is about the project town hall that you may actually refer to, that kind of a bigger, where you are actually talking to them very clearly. What's the strategy for the account or that project for the next 3-6 months? What actually has been done? Calling out people's name if they've done a really good job. Actually, that is quite important there as well. So, giving them the clear objective of what actually has been delivered or what actually needs to be done is very important, because you cannot really. And sometimes actually the other thing is also listening. I think listening becomes much more important when you are at a senior role, because people could come to you having an open door policy. They could come to you, they can just come and vent at you about something that is happening in the project. So having that thinking, as I said earlier as well, thinking what has actually happened with them, putting yourself in their shoes, or why are they saying it, what is actually has happened, and helping and supporting them is becomes much more bigger role in if you're managing a bigger team actually than in a smaller team.
On the back of that, how do you balance autonomy in a team like that with ensuring that the right thing or the good thing is being done, or at least bad things aren't being done?
So you need to set the objective for the team. So if you have got within the 290, we're talking about at least 30 teams. But 30 teams is not that they're coming on to me, there are managers on top of them as well. So giving them the clear objective of what you want them to do actually, and what is the time frame that you're looking actually for that to be kind of a bit of vague kind of time, like 2-3 months or whatever, and asking them to go back to their teams and figure out what is it that how are they going to achieve it, and having a proper reporting structure around that piece actually does help. Okay. Yeah.
So, having a technical background, there's 2 questions. How much does that play into your current position, being able to make trade-offs, decisions around that? How much of an advantage is it, and does it disadvantage you as well? In do you see things as a technical problem rather than a commercial problem?
It does. That is. It does. No, it does actually. So when I had transitioned from a tech lead to a manager, it was very difficult for me to not write a code. It was like, I cannot stay without writing some code. I need to write. So I will jump in, take few tickets and do my. So it was very difficult to actually be completely hands off. And that is the most difficult transition, because then people don't see you as a manager. It's like he's one of that person actually who doesn't want to leave this but still wants to grab hold of that. So sometimes you need to really take a step and say, well, this is for the team, I'm going to delegate it to you and you're going to do it. So there is an advantage if you have got technical skills, especially when you have worked in a product company, where you have been working on a product and things. So now if you're a manager and a person comes and says, oh, this is going to take 3 weeks for me to do, and you have done the work actually, because you understand what work actually, and you can go back, oh, this is a 1 week work or job that needs to happen. Why do you think it takes 3 weeks? So sometimes that helps you with those conversations, and if you've got technical knowledge as well, it does, like for some discussion that you're having with the client, you can contribute to that, not just listening, but actually also have that discussion contribution into that conversation as well. So, but it's not necessary, but if you have it, then it's good. Yeah.
How would you describe your approach to management on a scale of friendly to strict to friendly? Mark already said, it depends on the context about it, of what contexts
we are talking actually. If sometimes I have to be very strict, saying that this needs happening tonight. You have to produce this report that needs to go to the client. You should have done it earlier. You didn't do it. You have to do it now. So, and sometimes like, yeah, that's fine. We can, yeah, okay. Taking people out for drinks, and it's not that we are enemies. We are working for the same organization, same client. So, okay, taking them out for drinks and things. So it depends. Yeah.
Similar to your question, having gone up from the ranks as a developer through, do you now manage people that were your exact peers, previously, and at that point, you're very friendly with them, but as you move up higher and higher, there's that level. I always get told that you can't be that same friendly with them, because when things go wrong and you have to be more, you have to maybe discipline them, or there's some grievance process, that becomes very hard. How do you manage that?
Firstly, actually, that approach of when you're moving up the ranks, actually you can't be that. That's completely wrong. Actually, that's not how I do it. There was another guy who was supposed to come here. Actually, he used to work with me, so I was working alongside him, and then I became the manager of that in that organization. And he just literally met half an hour ago in our kids' cricket class, and he was actually told me the same thing, that Jiten, you never change. We're still really good friends, but it doesn't mean that if he's not working, I will not go back. I will actually be much more stricter with him, because I know him so well. That Martin, you need to come on, need to do this. What's happening? So I think keeping that's that is how you actually succeed in this managerial. You need to build that relationship. People should know you one-to-one. You should know everybody. That's the goal. But don't leave your friends behind. You need to bring them, keep remembering them. So yeah.
I always like to try and keep it less of an us and them as a them. I always like to be involved with the team. It's just that over the years when I've worked with different managers, I've been criticised for being a part of the team and not being the management.
No, that's no.
Well, your stance was on that, because you have 2 points.
That's BS. That's not how it should. That is not how it's done. You are the leader in that organization, or within that team. You are the person who's going to take the team with you. If you're seen as a manager, then it doesn't work. People will not work for you. They will just work their 9 to 5 jobs, and that's it done. They'll not put in that extra that you need. Actually, sometimes.
Difference between a manager and a leader.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a journey from empathy to trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a quick one. You talked a lot about flow, and I'm wondering, where do you get your flow as a manager? Because it's quite common as a developer, I think. But as a manager, do you get it? And if not, do you miss it?
It is actually, so it depends on what your flow is. It is completely different to different people. For me, it could be about just getting the data, creating the reports that are needed by the client. I could just be there immersed in hours, making sure that this is up to scratch. That is what is needed actually from my role. So it completely depends on what you really like. Sometimes I'm like, I need to work on some of the content that I want to deliver to my colleagues and peers. I just be immersed in that, just creating content that or things that I want to share with them. Yeah.
Talking about flow, I have an additional question. How do you manage, like being a delivery manager? I think you are expected to be in a lot of calls, right? And that sometimes, as a developer, creates unnecessary disruption. And that doesn't let you, as a delivery manager, I think it's creating as a hiccup to that flow, towards that flow. So how do you manage that unnecessary meetings? And how do you just decline it?
No. So that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. Actually, so no, you don't decline the question. Don't decline the meetings. You send a delegate. It is not that you are needed in each and every meeting necessarily. There could be meetings that you may be having with the CTO in which you are needed. You cannot delegate that meeting. But there could be other meetings that may be happening with the product or client that you may be you have been sent an invite that please come and join. But you can delegate it to someone within your team to say, could you join? Make sure that you attend and keep notes of it. And these days there are AI chatbots as well, that or agents that you could send it to your meetings that could actually attend the meeting on your behalf, make all the notes and give it to you in the next 2 minutes after the meeting's finished. So. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? No. Right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.